Hi everyone, I'm Andrew Brownback, lead pastor here at the Crossing Church. Welcome to part 3 in our series, The Road, Better Days Ahead. The Road is a series all about Jesus, about his final days and what matters most. In his last week, Jesus stopped everything to bring justice, beauty, and service to our attention. And this week, we are talking about service and questions like, why go out of your way to help someone? What difference does it make? And why did Jesus use dirty feet to get our attention? Welcome to our series, The Road, Better Days Ahead. Plus, next weekend is Easter. We have a great experience planned both online and on campus that includes an egg hunt for kids of all ages on Saturday. And as a parent of young kids, I am so excited for a safe, fun activity leading into Easter for my kids and their friends. Go to www.thecrossing.com/Easter to find out more today. Thanks for being here. I want to encourage you to share this video and then subscribe and follow our pages. Enjoy.
Well, what's up, TC? How you feeling? As you're viewing online, you can jump in the chat or the comments. I'd love to know how you're doing, good, bad, or indifferent. Jump in, type a little something. This is one of the best ways to be a part of our online service. If we haven't had the chance to meet yet, my name's Justin Chandler. I'm one of the pastors here at The Crossing. And every road has a beginning and an end. Each has its own share of bumps and turns with varying degrees of length. The shortest street in the United States is the 15 feet long McKinley Street in Bellefontaine, Ohio. US Route 20 is 3,365 miles long, or 17,767,200 feet, or 1 million times longer than McKinley Street. And it extends from Boston, Massachusetts to Newport, Oregon. And in the weeks leading up to Easter, we've been following the last days of Jesus, the road leading up to the most pivotal point in all of human history. The events that have reshaped both hemispheres of the globe, realigned how we measure dates and time, not to mention the intrinsic value and purpose for each person. This road, the road of Jesus, has been 33 years in the making, beginning in a manger in Bethlehem where there was no room in the inn, where shepherds gathered who had been watching over their flocks at night, and wise men came bearing gifts as they traveled from afar. From lakesides in Galilee to weddings in Cana to mountainsides, festivals, temples, and homes. And what's incredible about this road and Jesus' life is that Jesus knew the end was coming. John 13:1 says that it was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave the world and to go to the Father. Jesus knew. He had known all along, just like he had known so many things before. I mean, many of us can't anticipate the end in this way. In fact, one of the questions that we will ask each other as we sit around and discuss is if you had 24 hours to live, what would you do? And you can jump into the chat or comments right now and give your answer if you already know it. If you had 24 hours to live, what would you do? Jesus, intentional beyond how you and I can fathom, with every word that he spoke and every step that he took, made 3 intentional steps towards justice, beauty, and service. You heard Andrew mention in step 1 of the road that on this weekend in Jesus' life, the weekend of Palm Sunday, Jesus makes what has become known as the triumphant entry into Jerusalem. Jesus is a hero. The crowd is cheering him on and welcoming the one who will deliver them. And as Nicole mentioned last week in step 2 of the road, Jesus arrives in Jerusalem and the crowd that is following him knows all that he has done. John 12:17 and 18 says it like this. Now the crowd that was with him, when he called Lazarus from the tomb and raised him from the dead, continued to spread the word. Many people, because they had heard what he had performed this sign, went out to meet him. They met him with palm branches, cheering, they were singing praise, and they were full of hope. They met the one who had raised Lazarus from the dead, and the acclaim of Jesus grew exponentially and it magnified. And in our final step on the road, this one leading us to Good Friday in just a few days, and Easter Sunday next week, Jesus has one more step to take, a step towards service. a step he would take with his closest friends, which occurs in John 13. So if you have a Bible, I want to encourage you to open up there, John chapter 13. If you don't have a Bible, I'd encourage you to download our app, The Crossing CM. And when you click on the home button on the screen and scroll down, you'll see a notes button. Each portion of what I shared today will be included there. So this step begins in a similar way to each one of the steps before. John 13:1 says it like this, that it was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and to go to the Father. Having loved his own who were with him in the world, he loved them to the end. And I'll be honest with you that this verse still gets me. Jesus knew the hour had come and he loved them to the end. From the very first moment by the Sea of Galilee, through every teaching moment, parable, meal, miracle, stumble, slip, and fall, Jesus loved them to the end. His love for them and his love for us would soon be put on display. It would mark the Jewish people, the Roman Empire, and all of human history that would come before and would come after it. And as they gathered to celebrate this Passover meal, the celebration of the Jewish people that commemorated how God delivered them from Pharaoh in Egypt and set them free nearly 1,500 years before, Jesus was foreshadowing how he would do the same for them and to a much greater degree, and now the whole world. See, Passover was marked by a meal, one that Jesus had prepared and had shared with his friends. John 13 continues like this in verses 2 and 5. That the evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around them. Jesus knew. He knew that the hour had come. He also knew that one of his closest friends would betray him. Something that began in Judas's heart long before this moment and grew in his heart last week, as Nicole shared, was coming to a critical point in the road, one that there would be no turning back from. And Jesus knew. Often when we talk about Jesus, whether you're exploring faith or you've personally experienced the life-changing ways of following Jesus, we talk of the good that he brought into the world. And even in its most reductionistic sense, the man Jesus brought incredibly impactful teaching and care for people. And we also recognize, no matter where you are on the road of faith, that there's evil in the world. It's influenced actions and intentions throughout human history, and we continue to see its impact today. And the Bible personifies evil in Satan, the devil. So in the same room, you have the good that Jesus is bringing into the world, the restoration he's commencing to make things right, being fought against by the devil's influence on Judas to continue to lie, deceive, and tear down. Jesus knew, and he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, wrapped a towel around his waist, poured water into a basin, and began to wash his friends' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. The very same feet that had been walking with Jesus, the same feet that took every step and walked in and through every circumstance. Jesus would grab these feet and wash them with his hands. See, the power of this moment, where the God of the universe was holding the feet of those that he had made and scrubbing them clean of everything they chose to walk through on their own. Every piece of dirt, every impurity, every scent and otherwise, Jesus grabbed each foot and washed. And this is the step that Jesus took as evil took its most aggressive steps toward him to stop him, thwart, and kill him. And one of my wife's favorite things in the whole world is to get a pedicure. It is the go-to gift that I can give to her. And it's amazing what a simple, cheap pedicure can do for her soul. It's like a reunion amongst the closest friends when she's able to finally go receive one for the first time in a really long time recently. So on a few occasions, she's invited me to go with her. And I know a number of men who would never be caught in a nail salon getting a pedicure. I'm different though. See, I have no problem with that. My wife asked me to share an experience with her, and that was one of the easiest yeses I've ever given. And it was such a momentous occasion that Rachel took a picture. Now, if you're someone and you love a pedicure, you need to go ahead and jump into the comments and give me a little bit of love right now. If you're a man who's received a pedicure, I need you to jump in too. There's more of us out there than you know. Make sure that I'm not alone here. So here's just a couple of observations I have about pedicures. The first one is I don't know if I've ever been so self-conscious in my life, except for maybe when I go to the dentist. I heard a lot of commentary about my nails, toes, feet, and heels that I'm sure I've never heard before ever. And I'm also sure that for first-time pedicures after 20 plus years of use, that's really tough on the technician. The second one is this, is that every man I've ever met who denies himself a pedicure, I always tell them the same thing. You have not truly experienced socks before. You don't even know the softness that you're missing. And though I can still count on one hand the number of pedicures that I've received, I never forgot the feeling of putting on socks for the first time after. And here's the third one. It's impossible to avoid eye contact. Every one of Jesus' disciples would look into his eyes and he would look into theirs. The same Jesus who held the stars and formed the skies. The same Jesus who shaped the lands and the waters. The same Jesus who filled the seas and filled the skies, who crafted each animal and knit each person together. The same Jesus who touched a leper and healed him. The same Jesus who touched fish and bread, multiplying it to feed thousands. The same Jesus who took Peter's mother-in-law by the hand and told her to rise from sickness. The same Jesus who touched the eyes of the blind and they were open. Who touched the ear of the deaf and mute so that they could speak. The same Jesus who healed a woman who was unable to stand straight, and the same Jesus who healed the man who suffered from dropsy. This Jesus grabbed their feet and with his hands began to wash. Every step of the road, every story in the journey, every word in history had to be remembered as they were looking at each other. For Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas. And then Jesus came to Peter, one of his closest friends. And here's what verses 6 to 11 say. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus replied, you do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. No, said Peter, you shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered, unless I wash you, you have no part with me. Then Lord, Simon Peter replied, not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well. Jesus answered, those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you. For he knew he was the one who was going to betray him, and that why he had said not every one of them was clean. Like, what a strange interaction this is. Like, we can already feel the tension of the end of the road, this moment with the washing of feet. And then you have this conversation between Jesus and Peter, one all of their friends would be able to hear. It's like, Jesus, are you, the one we've seen do all that, are you really going to wash my feet? Like, you shouldn't be washing my feet. I should be washing yours. I mean, all these other guys, they let you do it, but I know my feet, Jesus. I know where they've been, and there's no way that you should touch them. See, it was easy enough to stand by when Jesus touched everyone else. But what about when Jesus touches you? Knowing what you know about you, do you ever try to push Jesus away? Peter did, and I have too. So Jesus tells Peter that he doesn't understand what he's doing, but later he will. And unless Peter lets Jesus wash, then Peter could not have no part with him. Like, he would no longer be his friend. He would no longer be on the road with him. So if Peter wasn't willing to take this step, he wouldn't be able to take another. So Peter raises the ante. Jesus, if this is a requirement, then don't just stop at my toes. Like, I'll take the full service with all the upgrades, not just my feet. Like, let me have a bath. So Jesus lets him keep talking, almost like a parent who's humoring their kid as they continue on in this story. So he says, Peter, once this is done, you won't need to wash yourself because you feel dirty anymore. There won't be any ritual cleansing or ways where you would try to scrub yourself of all you've walked into and all you've walked through. Those who cleanse themselves in that way need to do it over and over again. But you are clean. And we feel this tension too. The way we try to make amends or give back or pay penance for what we've done. We feel like if we can tip the cosmic scales enough back our way, it will be enough to offset the wrong that we've committed. But if you've ever walked that road, you know that you can scrub and scrub, give and give, pay and pay. But some things just feel like they'll never go away. And it felt that way for Peter, and it's felt that way for me too. See, then the conversation, it starts to take a turn. And Jesus says, though not every one of you, because Jesus knew who was going to betray him. He knew that even in that moment, as Jesus and Judas looked at each other in the eye, that what had grabbed hold of Judas, Judas would not be able to let go of. No matter what Jesus said, no matter what he did, no matter what Judas saw, Jesus knew that Judas would say no. And Jesus knew, and he stooped down still. He filled a basin with water. He grabbed a towel and he began to wash, to serve, even the one that would betray him and cost him his life. You see, there was more to this story than the most intimate and personal moment that Jesus and his friends would share. As with every step that Jesus took and every word that he spoke, there was a very specific purpose that Jesus was seeking to accomplish. And Jesus describes that in verses 12 to 17. And when he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I've done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for this is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I've set you an example that you should do as I have done. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than their master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." The magnitude of this moment, man, it cannot be lost upon us. Washing feet was reserved for servants. In the culture which Jesus lived within, only those from another culture would perform this task. It was considered beneath every Jewish person to wash feet. And when the master of a wealthy household would return home from a long journey, wearing the open-toed sandals, which were the only shoe that everyone wore, a servant would wash his feet. Jesus, teacher and Lord, creator and Messiah, miracle worker and healer, the one who had the sound of the crowd singing Hosanna, it could still be heard in the disciples' ears, is the master washing the feet of the servants, those who left everything to follow him. And if he, their Lord and teacher, would be willing to do this for them, so too they should be willing to do this for one another. No servant is greater than their master, no messenger greater than the one who gives the message. And so Jesus looked to his closest friends and said, "I've set an example for you that you should do as I have done for you." And now that we know these things, you'll be blessed if you do them. And as I've sat with this over the last few days and I've thought about three things. Jesus intentionally chose, as one of his final acts on earth, to serve his closest friends in this way. Of all the ways he could have spent his last 24 hours, of all the ways he could have served his friends, he chose this one. And that matters. It mattered to them and it matters to us. This intimate expression of how his love was shared with those he loved most. He loved them to the end. Jesus intentionally chose to serve the people who was going to betray him. Not his enemy, like that title belongs to the devil, Satan. To the one person in the room who would make the worst mistake of their life, which would cost Jesus his life. Jesus knew and served him anyway, not because his service would change Judas's mind or heart, but because Jesus loved him to the end. Jesus intentionally chose, as one of his final acts on earth, to do something that many would consider beneath him in order to touch the hearts, minds, and lives of those who he would serve. In fact, there wasn't a single thing that Jesus was too proud to do in order to demonstrate the way that he loved. This step, this act of service, not only shapes the road to Good Friday and Easter, it also shapes you and me. Service has been a part of the Christian life from this moment until today. Each of these men would give their lives to serving Jesus, and it would take them to the ends of the earth. No place was too far, no people were too far gone, no task was beneath them. Every one of them was willing to follow Jesus, even to death. And just as Jesus knew the hour that had come and he loved them to the end, so too they would love him to the end, just as he loved them. And this has influenced how every Christian has decided to live since. It's something that's influenced the crossing throughout our 32-year history, and it continues to influence the crossing today. So to those of you who have stepped in to serve online throughout this pandemic, I want to say thank you. To those of you who have stepped back on our campus to serve, thank you. To those of you who have walked the streets of our city in service, thank you. To those of you who arrived at homes and knocked on doors, thank you. To those of you who have picked up phones to call, thank you. One of the things that we discover as we serve, just as Jesus had served us, is that serving, just like justice and beauty, is not a box that we check. It's a rhythm we practice. It's not a step in the road, but a rhythm and cadence to which we walk. They are the way that our feet touch the ground with every step. And in the same way that Jesus invited his closest friends to be blessed if they do them, so too, I want to invite you to say yes in one of three ways. For some of you, I believe that Jesus is kneeling before you now, that he's grabbed a towel and he's looking you in the eyes and he's asking if you want to be clean. Not in the scrub you on the outside kind of clean, not the kind of clean that no one else would be able to notice what lies beneath the surface or on your heart, but the kind of clean that gets deep within your soul and touches every part of who you are. And each of us is faced with a choice. We'll either respond like Peter and invite Jesus in to touch and cleanse it all, or we'll respond like Judas and deny what Jesus is offering. That whatever has grabbed hold of our heart and life is too far gone, that the grip is too strong. But I want to invite you not to do that today. That just as Jesus kneels in front of you, may we be the people who say yes, trusting and believing that all that Jesus has done, that he'll be able to overcome that in others and that he can overcome that in us too. And so if you want to say yes to Jesus, if you want to be clean, either for the first time or you're returning to faith as if it were the first time today, I want to invite you to jump into the comments, type in number 1 or Jesus, so we'll have a chance to respond and celebrate with you. There's some of you that, as I've mentioned, someone you love or someone who's betrayed you, and hearing that Jesus was willing to serve each one of them in the same, someone came to mind for you. And I believe that Jesus has pulled a basin, he has water and a towel to you, he's sitting at your feet and he's looking you in the eyes in the very same way. To know that only you will be able to touch their lives and to serve them in a way that will penetrate through all the walls that they can put up. That in the same way that God has served you, he's inviting you to bring that same justice, beauty, and service to this person. And I don't want you to miss the power of the name that God has brought to your mind. So if you want to say yes to Jesus, and if you want to serve this person or people that's come to your mind, I want to invite you right now again to jump into the comments. You can type the number 2 or them. And to the last group of people, Jesus demonstrated that service was not a box that we checked, but a rhythm to be practiced. He showed that in every town he arrived to and every person he interacted with, no person, action, or service was beneath him. And if it was not beneath him, our Master and Lord, then it's not beneath us either. And maybe in the same way, you know something that Jesus has invited you to serve in. And maybe you've said no, or maybe you've been saying no for a while. Or maybe you have no idea where to begin, but you can sense that God is inviting you to take this step and to live in this rhythm. I believe that Jesus is moving to you. And in the same way, he's looking you in the eyes, towel around his waist, water in the basin, and with his hands upon your feet, he's inviting you to walk. And to wherever your feet touch, to bring the hands of Jesus with you. So if you want to say yes to serve, and if you know the way that you're going to serve in, or if you just want help knowing where you could be able to go and serve, you could type the number 3 or serve in the comments. And we have some really exciting ways that are coming up for you to be able to make a difference this year, ways we've already made a difference already, and in just a few short weeks, we've got some really exciting things that I don't want you to miss out on. And so as you have a chance to say yes in the comments, I want to invite you to pray with me, right? So whether you're saying yes to Jesus, saying yes to the people that God is inviting you to go to, or saying yes to living the rhythm of serving, let's pray together. And so Jesus, I want to thank you. I want to thank you that of all the steps you could have taken at the end, that Jesus, you chose the action of service. And God, you knelt down and you washed the feet of those who had walked with you. God, knowing all of the impurity, all of the things that they walked through, all of the hardship, God, you loved them to the end. And God, right now, I believe you're looking to each one of us. And God, you're loving us to the end too. For those who are saying yes to a relationship with Jesus for the first time, I pray that they would feel your touch and your love in the same way that the disciples did. God, for those who are saying yes to going to a person and to be the way that they could show and demonstrate that love, whether to a friend or to someone who they know who's already betrayed them, God, I pray the same thing that moved in your heart to do this for your friends. God, would you move in ours to do it for our friends as well? And God, for each one of us, I pray that as we step into the roles of justice and beauty, so too, God, we would step into the role of service. And God, it wouldn't just be a box that we check. It wouldn't just be some way for us to live and to say that we've moved on, but it would be a rhythm that we walk each step of the way, a cadence to this road you're inviting us to walk on. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. During the next moments of our service, we're going to sing a song called A Place Called Earth. And the chorus of the song says, "Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth, where every son and daughter would know their worth, where all the streets resound with thunderous joy. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth." May this be true for you, and may this be true for me as we respond and sing. May this be true for us and for every person we touch in a rhythm and life of service.
Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth, where every every son and daughter would know their worth, where all of the streets resound with thunderous joy. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth. All the wars we haven't won, all the songs we've left unsung, all the dreams we haven't seen, the borderline. Now here we are between all of our hopes and fears, chasing down these stolen years, reaching out to the things unseen, the borderlines, the borderlines. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth, where every son and daughter would know their worth, where all of the streets resound with thunderous joy. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth. Jesus' name sealed on her tongue, questions buried in her lungs. Oh, my Father, why my son on the borderlines, the borderlines. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth, where every son and daughter would know their worth, where all of the streets resound with thunderous joy. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth. I had a dream that I finally saw your face, dancing in the arms of grace, dancing through the joy and pain on the borderlines, the borderlines. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth, where every son and daughter would know their worth, where all of the streets resound with thunderous joy. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth.
The Crossing focuses on what we are for: justice, beauty, service, and Jesus. You see, we value service, giving ourselves to something bigger and helping other people, because we have a God who led the way and served us. With Easter next week, I want to encourage you to make the decision to serve with us. Make this Easter special for someone who might be brand new to our community and might be exploring faith for the very first time in their life. Email us at info@thecrossing.com to start a conversation about how God can use you today. Here's what we have coming up Easter weekend. On April 2nd, that's Good Friday, and we have an experience both online and on campus called Radio Silence, where we will wrestle with how we live with unanswered questions, prayers, and struggles. These are questions that so many of us are asking today, and this service is designed to be an easy invite. And then on Saturday, April 3rd, this is our big family event on campus. It's an egg hunt for all over the crossing with fun themes and areas for different aged kids. We have multiple egg hunts, including a Lego-themed egg hunt, a superhero-themed egg hunt. We are going to be joined by the Easter Bunny and my friend Spider-Man. Not sure if you know him, but he's pretty awesome. We will have a mini golf, balloon animal, artist people, not exactly sure what they're called, but people, who make balloon animals, and a train ride. We're going to go all out this year because after 2020, we want something very special for all the kids in our community. Go to www.thecrossing.com/Easter to find out more and to sign up to attend. Bring friends, bring neighbors, bring your family. This is going to be a blast. And then last but not least, April 4th is Easter Sunday. We're planning an Easter service where we can discover the power of Jesus and why he matters in our lives today. Easter is the reason we all believe. Our experience begins online at 5:30 on Saturday night, and then we have 2 on-campus gatherings at 9:15 and 11:15 on our campus. So take a risk this year. Every one of us knows someone who could use a little hope in their life. Invite them to Easter. If they have young kids, start with the egg hunt as a first experience at our church. And then afterwards, buy them lunch and encourage them to give us a try this Easter and see what God does. Go to thecrossing.com/Easter to find out all you need to know about Easter weekend and the epic things that are happening in these 3 days. Last, thank you for all who give to the Crossing. Your generosity changes lives. You can give online at thecrossing.com/give or through our app. Thank you to all of you who already give. Your donations make it possible for justice, beauty, and service in our community. Thank you, and if you have never given before, this is a great way to take a first step towards someone in need. Every week, we serve our community. We provide a message of hope. We couldn't do all we do without you. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.